All right, next video. I just really wanted to watch this because I've been dying to and waiting to do it on stream. So, Patrick CC, obviously. Jonah Hill can't do anything right. I love Jonah Hill. I love Jonah Hill, so I'm really excited about this.
Jonah Hill once said, "I think I'm pretty good at making movies, but I am not good at being a famous person," and then spent his whole career proving exactly that. Everybody
Ooh, yeah, I forgot about that. Ooh.
has a different perception of Jonah. Some see him simply as a comedy film legend. Some see a self-important Nepo baby who takes himself too seriously. Others see a toxic man-child.
Oh my God, is that what he looks like now? Oh my God, is that for a movie or? Oh gee. Oh no. No, I just thought it was funny. He used to be so funny, like super bad and stuff. And then even Wolf of Wall Street was like soup. That was a great role in Wolf of Wall Street. Fantastic.
who weaponizes therapy speak to control his girl.
Ooh, the one where they sell guns. You know, him and the guy from Whiplash. Oh geez, I don't know his name either. They sell guns. And they like illegally traffic guns or legally. They do like contracts with the government or something. War Dogs. Oh, really good movie.
Girlfriend. And if they aren't talking about any of those things, they are hyper focused on his weight loss and weight gain, gawking at him like some sort of zoo animal. Over the years, Jonah has attempted to respond to all of the hatred towards him, but every time he does, things only get worse. Critics and fans never seem to be satisfied, making it seem like he just can't do anything right.
I came up like, in goofy comedy.
Oh, I hate Ellen, dude. I'm so glad that show's over.
And this kind of like curly-haired, overweight kid, and everyone had their own opinion on what I should be, how they could speak to me, how they could treat me.
Jonah Hill went from a complete nobody to securing.
Dude, look how young he looks right there. So this, bro, why am I spacing on his name? Bro, what's his fucking name? What is his fucking name, bro? Why can I not think of it? Seth Rogen. Right? Seth Rogen? Oh, Jesus, man. Why was that space in me?
Roles in countless early 2000s comedy bangers. The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Grandma's Boy.
Bro, I forgot he was in that one, dude.
Countless early 2000s comedy bangers. The 40-Year-Old
the eBay store that she has, the like on-site, they consign your stuff.
Virgin, Grandma's Boy, Click, Accepted, Knocked Up, Evan Almighty. In 2 short years, he became a reliable secondary or tertiary character that would give audiences funny moments.
Ask me about my winner!
However, it's unsurprising that Jonah got so many opportunities early on, considering he fits the standard definition of a Hollywood Nepo baby. Jonah's father, Richard Feldstein, is an extremely successful Hollywood business manager who manages the business and financial affairs of
Feldstein, huh? Feldstein got that money?
high net worth and high income clients. Richard started as an accountant for various Hollywood acts and notably served as the accountant for the iconic rock band Guns N' Roses. Jonah's mother, Sharon Feldstein, is a costume and fashion designer in Hollywood. Her first big job was working as an assistant to Mr. Daniels, who was the executive producer, on the set of the popular 70s and 80s show Taxi, and from there worked on various popular 80s and 90s TV productions. Jonah grew up in Hollywood, and with his parents' connections, he had too big of an advantage to fail.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. Looks the same, bro.
Then again, he proved to the world that his parents weren't the only reason he would be successful after his hilarious performance in the smash hit Superbad. Superbad was written by Seth Rogen and his childhood best friend Evan Goldberg to loosely resemble their real experiences as teenagers. Teenage Seth would be played by Jonah Hill, making it his first leading role on a major Hollywood set. Jonah knew this was his biggest opportunity to date, so he wanted to make sure everything went perfect. He did not hold back from letting everyone know that he did not want Christopher Mintz Plus to get the role of Fogel, aka McLovin. Immediately after Chris's audition, Jonah Hill was like, not that guy. In the films,
Oh, I didn't know that. That's perfect for the movie. That's why he was such an asshole.
Seth and Fogel have animosity towards each other, which was also the case behind the scenes. Seth Rogen said Jonah effing hated him. He was all over Jonah's lines, completely disrespectful of the process, probably due to a lack of experience. Then Jonah said, Chris just immediately shut me down, so combative. I was really annoyed because this guy wouldn't let me say anything.
Jonah Hill hated me so much after my audition. I walked out. I get it. I was 17. I was not a professional actor. I kind of went in. I was in high school, and we're playing high school kids. So, like, Jonah's roasting me. And you remember being in high school, you were just like, yeah, it's my buddy roasting me. It's not going to bother me. I'm going to roast him back. And that's what I did in the audition. And I left the room. I was like, oh, my God, Seth signed my script. Nothing's going to happen. Oh, my God. And Jonah's like, that guy. Till, like, Judd Apatow and Greg Mottola and Seth Rogen, he's like, that guy, don't cast that guy. And they all said, we got to cast that guy.
After Jonah told director Judd Apatow not to hire Chris, he
Yeah, dude, that's what you want right there. Like the already built-in animosity. Now we don't have to direct all that shit.
said, that's exactly why we're hiring him. It couldn't be more perfect. The
Yeah.
fact that it bothers you is exactly what we want. And their intuition was right. Jonah despising Chris only helped the hilarious dynamic between their characters on screen.
Can you say something to me?
I wasn't with you when you parked.
Yeah, but dude, you saw from afar that I was parking there. You should have said
I
something.
didn't think we were gonna be that long, man. You're so stupid.
Since McLovin became nothing short of a cultural icon after the movie's release, Jonah's contempt for him makes him seem like a jealous co-star in hindsight. Despite having far less screen time than Jonah, McLovin stole the spotlight. Maybe Jonah knew Chris was great and tried to prevent his casting to make himself look better. Or maybe he was just young, working on a life-changing project, and his stress was through the roof. But you'll notice Jonah's petty behavior would grow to become more of a pattern as the years went on. Jonah's role as Seth is considered by many to be the best work of his entire career.
Yeah, I was gonna say that probably was his peak right there. Cause then like 21 Jump Street was still good, but it was just like carrying off of this. And I think another movie, I'm forgetting. But yeah, this was definitely his best role ever.
He delivered countless hilarious moments that remain quotable 20 years.
Actually, not 21st Jump Street. Wolf of Wall Street, dude. I genuinely think that was like one of the best performances any like that was so good, dude. It was so like in character.
Later.
Hey, Greg, why don't you go piss your pants again?
That was like 8 years ago. Oh,
People don't forget.
Superbad became one of the most successful, and my personal favorite, early 2000s comedy films, securing $300 million when including revenue from DVD sales. Unfortunately, it also cemented Jonah Hill as the funny fat guy of Hollywood.
Jonah, do you think it's important
Dude, I've seen this clip. Oh, this one makes him look so bad.
to be unattractive to be funny? Can skinny people be funny?
I don't think it has to do with like anything besides just being funny and like being yourself.
How heavy were you in Evan Almighty?
I just don't think it's like I don't think it has anything to do with like what.
Even though that interview clip was a comedic sketch, it does accurately reflect the way reporters and the general public treated Jonah. Hollywood determined that his weight was a defining trait that made him valuable. He often got cast as the overweight, awkward guy who constantly was the butt of the joke. It even defined his iconic role in Superbad. But unfortunately for Jonah, his on-screen image also defined his real life too. You see, comedies have a way of blurring the line between the character and the real-life actor. Comedy films often look like normal people hanging out and saying funny things, and because of that, audiences often assume what they're seeing is just an exaggerated version of the actor's real personality. And for Jonah, that meant a lot of people didn't see him as someone playing a role, they saw him as the funny fat guy. And nobody knew it yet, but Jonah despised this, and he knew if he kept accepting the role as the funny fat guy, then he would never be able to escape this caricature of himself. From there, he did take on secondary roles in films like Strange Wilderness, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and Funny People, but none matched the success of Superbad. And while voice acting roles in
I was gonna say, bro, I didn't even know he was in any of those ones.
How to Train Your Dragon and Megamind kept him paid. In 2011, he made efforts to establish himself as a legitimate actor after he landed a major role in the sports drama Moneyball alongside well-respected actors like Brad Pitt and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Moneyball was one of those rare films that was loved by both critics and fans. Jonah's performance was so great, it earned him his first Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor, which you could tell he felt was a major highlight of his career.
I hope it never sinks in a real way because it's just so exciting and, you know, for my family. And when you say you want to become an actor, it just, you know, you shouldn't ever do things for awards or things like that. You should do them because you love them. But something like this just says, hey, you're maybe supposed to be doing the profession you're doing.
But Jonah still had a lot to prove, even to his co-star Brad Pitt. In a promotional interview for Moneyball, Brad heavily implied that Jonah was not a serious actor.
If you could adopt a personality trait or mannerism from one of your Moneyball co-stars, what would it be?
What would it be? A personality
Any one
trait?
of them. If they're sitting right here, that could be one of them. If it's Phil Hoffman, whatever.
No, I gotta go with a serious actor.
Okay.
As if his co-star calling
Oh, bro, that was way too direct.
him unserious wasn't bad enough, Jonah's worst nightmare started coming true. Instead of his performance being the main topic of conversation, his physical appearance was becoming central to his identity. After Moneyball, he started trying to slim down a bit, and tabloids about Jonah frequently made comments about his weight, writing things like, "Jonah Hill looks like he's regained all the weight he lost a while back and his fans couldn't be happier? Hey, they're just thinking about his career," implying that he can't be considered funny if he loses weight. You could tell that Jonah tried to downplay his weight loss, as he definitely did not want all of his interviews to devolve into just talking about his body.
All my friends were in college, so I was living like a frat guy. Like everyone was just drinking beer and eating pizza
Fast
with all my
food,
friends.
yeah.
And you know, as I mature, you know, even with this movie, I'm maturing as an actor and growing up and in front of everybody's eyes. It's like you just a certain time where you go, all right, it's time to be a responsible adult. You've got to be stop being a kid at some point.
Was there build up to it, or was it just like one day? And
No,
I'm
it was one day I made a
Wow.
looked up a nutritionist and called him up and went and.
Do you mind me asking how much weight you've lost? Or
I don't mind at all. I just don't know. I didn't know before or after, whatever.
Did you ever worry that people would perceive you differently? I talked to Seth about that when he lost a bunch of weight. You know?
No, you know, it's so funny. I think people make such a big deal about that, but I think if anything, it's like you can do all kinds of parts now. You know, it's like when you're a big guy, you can't play a thin guy.
You're limited.
It's impossible unless you use that
But they
like
can put
Captain
some pads
America
on you.
digital stuff or whatever.
Are you getting hotter chicks?
Oh man, no man, don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that.
I you know have a lady. That's great.
But eventually, he would shut down interviewers bringing up the subject completely.
Yeah, I feel like at this point he got really pretentious because he was so like defensive about that, and then it was just like embarrassing.
But are you still considered the fat guy when you go to a party or anything? Because I run into that a whole lot. I'm the fat one. So are you the fat guy in Hollywood still, or is everybody like look at you and they're like, oh wow, you know, this is great, now you're healthy?
Do you have any other questions that are smart?
For a while, Jonah handled these types of comments like a pro, laughing it off or just avoid engaging with it at all. Because when you're a celebrity of his scale, there's a pressure to stay composed. Don't overreact or give anyone a moment they can turn into a headline. Because if they crash out, then that becomes the story. Jonah eventually started giving critics a piece of his mind, which did not fix anything. It actually made his life much worse. After meeting Jonah in person back in 2012, CNN anchor Don Lemon tweeted, "Said hi to Jonah Hill in a hotel. Think he thought I was a bellman. I didn't know his name till the bellman told me. A lesson to always be kind." And before we get into Jonah's response, this tweet is a perfect example of how Jonah Hill simply could not do anything right to satisfy the media. In the same breath, Don downplays Jonah Hill by saying he didn't even know who he was, essentially implying that he's not that important, but still expects Jonah to respond to him with a certain level of warmth and respect.
Yeah, what's that
it's
about?
This weird double standard where a celebrity can be reduced to just some guy but still expected to act like a celebrity. Unfortunately, Jonah's response only further painted him as emotionally insecure. "I said hi, what do you want me to do, move in with you? I was in a hurry, didn't realize you were a 12-year-old girl, peace." He continued, "I walked out of the restroom and found you waiting for me, shook hands, said hi, and was on my way. Sorry if you found that rude." Don replied, "Was waiting for luggage. baggage. Bellman and I laughed at how self-important you were. Just being honest. Be nice. Stardom is fleeting. But Don couldn't be more wrong about his stardom because Jonah was skyrocketing in success at the time, proving he was still a comedy powerhouse.
Dude, who the fuck is Don Lemon anyway, bro? Like, we all know you're with CNN, but like, who are you though, dude? Like, what have you done? I don't know. That would irritate me a little bit. I just like Jonah Hill, man. Like, I feel like everyone's being a hater for no reason. Like, he's good in the movies that he's in. No, most of them. Obviously, everyone has like dud movies, but I don't know. I don't know anything that's happened since then, so I'm gonna probably get a huge update and be like, oh wow, either I don't like him or like him by the end of this.
With the release of 21 Jump Street, which grossed over $200 million at the world. Worldwide box office, and once again gave us hilarious moments that will be quoted for a lifetime.
We're not playing to pop in each other's assholes. What we're doing is getting done.
But as Jonah's star power increased, his inability to let things roll off his shoulders would get worse as time went on. In 2013, Jonah was interviewed by the Rolling Stone alongside Seth Rogen in anticipation of his upcoming film, This Is the End, which is a stoner comedy about a bunch of potheads facing the apocalypse.
Dude, I want to watch that movie again. That shit is so funny. It's just so pointless, so funny. They don't make movies like that no more.
However,
it's not a good movie. It's stupid funny. It's like stoner movie.
The interviewers seemed entirely unhappy with Jonah's responses. Seth, we say, coming out of our reverie. No, I'm Jonah, Hill says blankly. That's a great way to start. We blanch, sputter, cough, and try to explain ourselves, but Hill is apparently in no mood to cut anyone any slack, which made...
Bro, I mean, you said the wrong name, though. I would think you actually thought it was the wrong name.
Just be how he is. He is serious. He is. Which I'm not, and neither are Franco or Danny, Rogen had told us. By starting the interview off referring to him as Seth, Jonah is being reduced to the superbad character people refuse to let him outgrow. And the moment he pushes back, not even aggressively, just correcting it, now he's the problem. Because to the interviewers, they were just joking. They try to break the ice and begin talking about exercising, to which Jonah replies, my workout routine is of little relevance. For a while, they converse with Jonah and it goes smoothly until they ask a question that pisses him off. Liked when they asked, what kind of a farter is he? His eyes nearly jump out of their sockets. I'm not answering that dumb question. I'm not that kind of person. Being in a funny movie doesn't make me have to answer dumb questions. It has nothing to do with who I am. Jonah continued, I've done one of the biggest challenges you can do in...
Bro, they asked what kind of a farter is he? I was seeing up here. Hold up. Bro. After that, he tells us about the time he got a second-degree sunburn all over his back but was too embarrassed to ask friends to rub lotion on it. So he went to CVS, bought a Swiffer, grabbed aloe vera on the Swiffer, gobbed aloe vera on the Swiffer, and Swiffered his back himself. It was the most sad, dark, physically, and emotionally painful thing I've ever had to do. We comment on his ingenuousness. I got it done, he says, and that's all that matters. Has he ever acted in a spineless way? When I was 22, I wanted to break up with this girl, but I was too cowardly to do it. So I told her I was going on a trip around the world to find myself, and I actually did it. When I didn't want to go on the trip at all. I hate being by myself. I hate it. But I was 22, I'm 29 now. I'd never do that now. I'd be direct. Yo, what a weird interview, though. Weird ass interview.
Until they ask a question. A funny movie doesn't make me have to answer dumb questions. It has nothing to do with who I am. Jonah continued, I've done one of the biggest challenges you can do in Hollywood, which is transition from being a comedic actor to being a serious actor, and I'm really prideful of that. I could have made $1 billion doing every big comedy of the last 10 years and didn't, in order to form a whole other life for myself. Now I have fulfillment doing both. The authors of the article then wrote, that being the case though, you'd think he'd be able to relax a little bit, open up, take it easy. Once again, Jonah is in a situation where he cannot win. The interviewers expected him to act like the same goofy, raunchy character he played on screen because that's what people associated him with. If he leaned into it, he'd just reinforce the exact stereotype he was trying to move away from. But the moment he tried to take himself seriously, he came across as uptight and rude. Then again, some people think Jonah's attitude comes across like he is doing this Daniel Day-Lewis level method acting. acting. He did 2 serious dramas at this point, and the rest were comedies. He still had a lot of work to do to prove his dynamic range as an actor. Jonah was so determined to be taken seriously that he took a minimum salary of just $60,000 to play as Donnie alongside Leo DiCaprio.
Bro, I didn't even know that. He took like reduced ass pay to do this too. That's crazy, bro.
DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street. Not only did he know the movie would be a hit and help him build a new reputation in Hollywood, but he wanted to work with one of the greatest directors of all time, Martin Scorsese.
As far as Jonah Hill's concerned, yeah, I met him in Mexico, and he basically said to me, I know people like this. I know what these people represent in the culture. I've met people like this, and there's nobody on earth that should play this character except for me. I'm the man for this job. And I said, no, I hear you. He's like, no, you don't understand. This is my favorite script I have ever read in my life, and I'm destined to play this. So I immediately called Marty. I said, there's an actor out there that, really feels like they're the person for the job. But I think Marty met him a week later, and I heard it was one of the best meetings he'd ever had with an actor, and hired him kind of on the spot. And in a lot of ways, Jonah Hill set the tone for this film, I think. He really is one of the most unbelievably talented improvisational actors I've ever gotten the opportunity to work with, and took scenes in directions that we never even thought possible.
Donnie is probably in contention with being Jonah's most memorable performance next to Superbad.
Agreed.
Although Wolf of Wall Street is a comedy, Jonah approached the role with a level of commitment that went beyond just being the funny side character. He fully leaned into the world of the film, making...
Bro, it was the exact perfect, like, concoction of all the stuff he'd been dealing with in his personal life to actually put out in like an acting role. Like that was fantastic to watch.
You believe he truly was this desperate, greedy, power-hungry, twisted businessman who was constantly on hard drugs. But again, more fame meant more attention from the media, who wanted to push him to his limits. Except this time, he would have to make a formal apology for his actions. On May 30th, 2014, Jonah Hill was walking through the streets of Los Angeles as 2 paparazzi followed him, filming him.
I like the shorts though, bro. They are pretty sexy.
For the next minute or so, they followed behind him, not saying much, but filming and taking pictures. Typical annoying paparazzi. However, at the end of the interaction, Jonah called the cameraman the homophobic F-slur.
Have a good day. Enjoy. Suck my... Oh, a real bully.
At the time, many of Jonah's fans defended him, suggesting the paparazzi were annoying stalkers.
Yeah, dude, he was like legit harassing him. Like, I like your shorts, bro. They look real sexy. Like, I'd have an issue too. Like, fuck off, buddy.
But Jonah decided to use some time on his Jimmy Fallon appearance to apologize for using the word.
I didn't mean it in a homophobic way. I think that doesn't matter. How you mean things doesn't matter. Words have weight and meaning. And the word I chose was grotesque, and, no one deserves to say or hear words like that. I
refocused onto his controversy.
All right, yeah, no, I remember seeing that, so I was just like...
That was very responsible and mature of him. Instead of discussing his upcoming film, 22 Jump Street, many mainstream programs were refocused onto his controversy. When speaking with Howard Stern, Hill said, "I think I'm pretty good at making movies, but I am not good at being a famous person." After 22 Jump Street grossed over $330 million at the worldwide box office, Jonah Hill had officially stamped his legacy as one of the best comedic actors of the early 2000s and 2010s. It seemed like everything he was cast in became an absolute smash hit, but he still had moments where he felt like he had to call...
Bro, she got done dirty in that little pose right there, man. That's awful.
All out disrespect from the media. In a confrontation live on French television, the female co-host made frequent references to Jonah Hill getting sodomized in his movie This Is the End. As he received the translations through an earpiece, the host continued with another joke about a fantasy she had about Hill, saying, "We would meet up in a hotel room at night. We would chat, you'd make me laugh, then all of a sudden, you'd bring your friends DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, and then you'd go away," implying that he was too unattractive for her to sleep with him. In response, Jonah said, "I'm glad I came on this show to get ridiculed by your local weather girl." It initially appeared that Jonah was simply laughing the joke off and sending friendly shots back, but his response was completely genuine, and after, he canceled all future media appearances he was scheduled for in France. The interviewer eventually apologized on camera with the statement, "Jonah, the problem is that for 10 years I have lived with you through your films. In fact, Jonah, I really had the impression that I knew you. So last Friday I thought I was just messing around with a friend. But the reality is that we are not friends." This once again reinforces the friendly, buddy-buddy image a comedic actor is expected to maintain in the eyes of the general public.
Yeah, bro. I mean, that's a little too far of a joke on TV, you know?
Jonah is expected to be able to take a joke at his expense and shoot the with anyone who feels like calling him fat or ugly. But when he cracks back or tries to correct them, he's the problem.
First of all, you smell good, which is surprising.
Why is that surprising?
I don't know. I just wouldn't think of a guy who would have a nice scent on. And it
That's
seems
such a, like, I'm gonna really work hard to not take that as a shot. You know what I mean? Like, because I think you would smell nice.
A 2016 article best describes the sort of limbo that Jonah was stuck in. Despite establishing himself as a legitimate actor worthy of Oscar recognition, he was not taken seriously in the eyes of the public. The hilarious sidekick roles make up a numerically small but neon bright portion of Hill's career, and no number of contrasting performances can seem to override the public impression of him as a man who might, at any moment, start humping the furniture. Unfortunately for Jonah, the public's perception of him would never change. His desire for approval as a serious actor, paired with his inability to manage the stress of stardom, led him to moving away from the silver screen and stepping behind the camera, focusing more on writing and directing. His first major film he directed in 2018 was called Mid-90s, which was an awesome debut. It is a coming-of-age film about youth skateboard culture in Los Angeles in the 90s. It wasn't a box office banger, but most definitely a classic that I and many other skate fans thoroughly enjoyed. He hadn't stepped away from acting entirely, but his new focus allowed him to fade from the public view while remaining a part of the creative process he fell in love with. His shift in career direction also marked a willingness to be more open about his insecurities and the difficulty he faced early in his career.
I became famous in my late teens and then spent most of my young adult life listening to people say that I was fat and unattractive, and it's only in the last 4 years writing and directing my movie.
You leave me alone! Sorry, buddy. Sorry. I'm just busy. Please. I'm busy.
The public view while remaining a part of the creative process he fell in love with. His shift in career direction also marked a willingness to be more open about his insecurities and the difficulty he faced early in his career.
I became famous in my late teens and then spent most of my young adult life listening to people say that I was fat and unattractive, and it's only in the last 4 years writing and directing my movie Mid-90s that I've started to understand how much that hurt. I really believe everyone has a snapshot of themselves from a time when they were young that they're ashamed of. For me, it's that 14-year-old overweight and unattractive kid who felt ugly to the world and wanted so badly to be accepted by this community of skaters.
However, even as he stepped away from the big screen, his
Whoa. He almost looks unhealthy right there. That's a lot of weight loss, bud.
His physical appearance remained a topic in the press. The late 2010s were plagued with articles discussing Jonah's weight, and it appeared that there was nothing he could do without it being brought up. One of the best examples of this is the Daily Mail. It has been documented that Jonah had lost 40 pounds after he stopped drinking beer, a decision he made all the way back in 2016. The Daily Mail would consistently find ways to shoehorn this fact into any article they could, regardless of its relation. Jonah making a quick stop at the coffee shop, they wrote, "He lost 40 pounds when he cut out beer in 2016. Surfing with some friends, they wrote, "Jonah Hill pulls down his wetsuit in Malibu to show off his bare chest filled with several large tattoos after losing 40 pounds. And after years of this, Jonah responded to a 2021 Daily Mail article once again about his body while he was at the beach surfing. "I don't think I ever took my shirt off in a pool until I was in my mid-30s, even in front of family and friends. Probably would have happened sooner if my childhood insecurities weren't exacerbated by years of public mockery about my body body by press and interviewers. So the idea that the media tries to play me by stalking me while surfing and printing photos like this and it can't faze me anymore is dope. As tragic as Jonah's history of ridicule was, it was nice to see that he had finally made peace with himself and his image. He continued to embrace this new image with a body positivity tattoo and became a cultural symbol for self-love. However, this was a double-edged sword. It wasn't just negative comments that bothered Jonah, but even positive comments about his appearance were deeply upsetting to him. I know you mean well, but I kindly ask you not to comment on my body. Good or bad, I want to politely let you know it's not helpful and doesn't feel good. Much respect. It was only a matter of time before all of this would compound, and Jonah would announce a departure from the public eye to manage and deal with what he describes as a 20-year battle with severe anxiety attacks. It was clear that Jonah had become much more vulnerable in the latter half of his career. He had spent years being ridiculed for one of his deepest insecurities, but was now exposing his most sensitive struggles for the world to see with new confidence. This was thanks in large part to his commitment to therapy and relationship with his therapist, Dr. Phil Stutz. Jonah was so deeply impacted by this that he documented himself attending
I remember seeing that. I forgot that I did, but yeah, I've seen that.
real therapy sessions in a documentary titled Stutz. The film seeks to normalize therapy and introduce those who may be skeptical of the process. Dr. Stutz discusses a concept he describes as tools, which are essentially coping mechanisms and mental habits you can utilize in moments of stress and discomfort. These tools are the backbone of the documentary's narrative, and Jonah emphasizes their importance in helping him manage the many stresses of his life. However, it would come to light that Jonah hadn't entirely used these tools for good, and he would be accused of weaponizing the lessons he learned in therapy to control and manipulate his ex-girlfriend. Jonah Hill made viral headlines in July of 2023 when his ex-girlfriend Sarah Brady exposed text messages he had sent to her 2 years earlier, shortly after he revealed that he and his current girlfriend were having a child. Plain and simple, if you need surfing with men, boundaryless, inappropriate friendships with men, to model, to post pictures of yourself in a bathing suit, to post pictures, friendships with women who are in unstable places, and from your wild recent past beyond getting a lunch or coffee or something respectful, I am not the right partner for you. If these things bring you to a place of happiness, I support it and there will be no hard feelings. These are my boundaries for romantic partnership. My boundaries with you are based on the ways these actions have hurt our trust. Two things in particular stand out. Number one, Sarah is both a professional surfer and model, and Jonah specifically tries to restrict her ability to do those things to continue their relationship. It's also worth considering that Sarah had been doing both of these things prior to when the two started dating in 2021. Almost immediately into the relationship, Jonah began making subtle implications that he was uncomfortable with her lifestyle. He writes, "Oh, and modeling, which is the last profession I would be with as a partner." She replies, "Well, maybe you should have asked me more about what I do for work before you decided to date me then." Jonah replies, "Keep taking me for granted." He sarcastically continues, "Go model. It's a fulfilling life. You'll love it. Real depth and substance and sustainability for relationships." But actually, I'm done with this convo. Besides his seemingly insecure and petty attitude, much of the
that was pretty bad, bro. That was not good.
The discussion was surrounding the usage of the word boundaries. Many felt as though Jonah was misusing the word entirely. On the surface, it sounds like he's being self-aware, like he's calmly communicating what he needs in a relationship and trying to avoid conflict. It frames him as someone who's being honest about difficult topics instead of lashing out or controlling someone outright, and that's what caused many men online to rush to his defense.
Yeah, he's insecure. Yeah. But like, he's not saying like you can't be a human being. He's like, I wish you well. I just personally don't want you posting your ass on Instagram. I just personally don't want you going on these little surf dates with other men. I just personally don't want a partner that's gonna do that. And if you need to do that, you go for it. I wish you the best. You got it. But I can't have that.
I think he did a pretty good job. My boundaries are this. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that.
I mean, that is pretty fair, but it's like what Patrick said. You can't have it be like that's what she did before they got together. Like that's how her whole life was before. So if you come in and you're, setting boundaries now to say, "Oh, I'm not going to be with you for this, and this," then it's bad because you knew the behavior was like that already. So I think it makes it a little bit different, but it is nice that he's laying it out the way he is. It's respectful.
Isn't that what we wanted? People to express themselves? People to be able to just say what they want, not keep that inside, not bottle up. That's what he did. Now, Sarah has a choice to stay or to get. That's it.
However, others interpret Jonah's words entirely the opposite way. Instead of setting boundaries on his own behavior, he's outlining restrictions on hers, what she can wear, who she can be around, and even the career she had before they met. So while it's packaged as vulnerability and communication, it can also be interpreted as him attempting to pressure her into changing her lifestyle to surrender to his expectations. Sarah also shares a text conversation shortly after an argument. She
Sorry, I said that I had a couple beers and I'm just upset. Was he gonna read it? Hold up.
voices her frustration at the restraint she feels in the relationship, noting that she was constantly trying to avoid an uncomfortable situation or argument. She looks for reassurance from him, describing her insecurity that he would eventually leave her. However, Jonah responded with hostility and passive aggressiveness. You're right. We can't do surf social things or develop trust until you consider me and make decisions that give regard to our relationship. I've been as vulnerable as possible, and I'm telling you I am needing you to step up to the plate, which you can, I am sure of it, but these losers don't get your time if you want me. Straight up, it's consideration. If you want marriage and family, you can't use the 25 card. Step up and cut These people don't get your time or your kindness at the sacrifice of minds. It was also revealed that Jonah was forcing Sarah to remove pictures or videos he found to be inappropriate from her social media, once again saying, "I've made my boundaries clear," and using degrading language like, "It's not my place to teach you." It appears that Jonah would constantly give Sarah an ultimatum: delete these pictures.
Yeah, this got weird right after that. I mean, she was coming back with the apology too, like trying to be understanding. Man, that was awful.
Don't hang out with these people or you don't respect me and I'll break up with you.
Just don't be with her.
He brings up that Sarah does not respect him when it doesn't read like he has much respect for her either. Take some accountability and operate with respect. It's that simple. F that contest, F that place, and F not respecting me in every situation within surf culture or you don't get it and you don't get me. It's hurtful and unacceptable to me. All of this seriously begs the question why he would start dating someone who clearly doesn't live a lifestyle that conforms to his own. Why would he choose to date a bikini-wearing surfer with
That's what I'm saying. Just find someone else, bro. She's the exact thing of which you don't want.
Tons of toxic friends if they violated his boundaries? It came across to many that he was extremely insecure and trying to change a woman who he was likely not compatible with. Others that defend Jonah see this as nothing more than clear communication. He's being blunt and maybe a bit hostile, but he is angry and we all get angry. And others see his communication as calculated usage of therapy speak. Dude's a prime example of someone who learned just enough therapy speak to weaponize it against others. Geez, you don't have boundaries, you're just a controlling act. This was easily the biggest controversy of Jonah's career, with countless media outlets labeling his behavior as abusive. However, even those who were opposed to the way Jonah was speaking to his girlfriend were quick to say that this was not abuse. Insecure? Yes. Rude? Yes. Toxic? Potentially, but not abuse. This created a PR disaster for Jonah, but he chose to stay silent in regards to the situation. However, he did respond through his lawyers after Zoe 101 actress Alexa Nicholas accused
what? Oh no, bro, not him too.
Jonah Hill of shoving her against a door and kissing her without her consent when she was 16 years old and he was 24. His attorney, Marty Singer, responded calling Alexa's accusations a complete fabrication, adding that it never happened and that she was a serial accuser who has made assorted accusations against multiple men in the entertainment industry. Jonah has continued his separation from the spotlight and hasn't made any form of public appearance since the call-out. Still to this day, most of what you see from him is paparazzi capturing photos of him on the streets of Los Angeles, still commenting on his weight loss whenever they see him looking different. He recently made headlines again after being pictured looking completely unrecognizable, although it's worth clarifying he was on set for a movie he's starring in. Jonah Hill's Hollywood legacy is a strange one. He's undeniably one of the iconic comedic actors of his generation, responsible for hilarious performances that have lasted decades, yet the conversation around him rarely stays focused on his work for long. It always drifts back to his body, his personality, his relationships, anything but the thing that made people pay attention to him in the first place. And no matter what version of himself he presents, there's always a reason to critique it if he
Dude, what an amazing video, honestly. I fucking love Jonah Hill, but I feel bad that all that happened to him. But man, no, that was good. That was fantastic. I was dying to watch that video, so I was waiting so I could do it on stream so I didn't have to just waste a video, you know? I was like, that's going to be interesting anyway, so... Next video. All right, next video is going to be Nick Crowley. obviously. Been waiting to watch one of his videos, so he finally posted Avi Loop, YouTube's Darkest Mystery.
August 5th, 2011. A channel appears on YouTube serving as a promotional page for an up-and-coming company called Aviloop, a brand that boasted unbeatable deals in the world of aviation. That same day, 4 videos were
on YouTube? Post deals on YouTube?
Were uploaded, each showcasing young women dressed as flight attendants, detailing some of the many services that Aviloop provided. These would be the only videos ever uploaded to the channel, as from that moment on, the page was abandoned, giving Aviloop a lifespan of just 1 day. The 1 day is all it would take to set in motion a mystery that remains unsolved to this very day, a mystery surrounding the company at the core of this channel and the services that it allegedly provided, with no one being able to answer the seemingly simple question, what was Aviloop?
Yeah, I would love to know how he finds out about stuff like this now. Like, he's probably got a whole team of people trying to figure out, like, niche-ass stories like this.
And the more you search for answers, the more deranged this trail becomes. This is the story of Aviloop, YouTube's darkest mystery.
And there's no catch.
Dude, it's crazy. I feel like I remember watching his videos like long time ago, and it was like kind of the same thing, but he's just refined it. It's like an art now for him. I feel like he's the best horror type creator on YouTube.
What are you waiting for, Captain?
Jesus.
Welcome to Aviloop, your collective buying website for anything aviation.
The formula for Aviloop's content was simple. A young woman stands in front of a static white background dressed in a flight attendant's outfit. They refer to themselves as deal attendants, and their job seems to be sharing information about this new brand, Aviloop.
We offer deals on flight lessons, pilot accessories, fuel,
FBO services, charter flights, and even small aircraft.
You don't see that very often.
The brand marketed a
They sell fuel also? Like, what the fuck?
number of unique aviation-related services, making them appear as a one-stop shop for anyone in the industry or just anyone interested in flying. Aviloop claimed to do it all, and at unbeatable prices too,
Our deals are usually 50 to 90% off.
promoting deals of 50 to 90% off.
Yeah, no way.
It hardly seems like anything mysterious, just your standard subpar ad from the early 2010s. But the more you watch, the less clear it becomes what exactly Aviloop did. They left their business incredibly vague. There were no prices, no locations, and rather they just listed a bunch of flying buzzwords, offered at deals that seemed impossible. For example, they list fuel supply among their offerings.
Yeah.
But how are they actually getting the fuel and providing it at 50 to 90% off? And
Just getting the fuel at all would be like mind fuck. Like at 50 to 90% is just not real.
where in the country or even the world are they offering it?
Gotta get that shit out, man.
It just doesn't seem realistic. What they're saying sounds fine on the surface, but the more you think about it, the less sense it really makes. It just seems too good to be true, not to mention how bizarre it is that this unknown company could come in and offer literally anything you could want that's flying related, with such exorbitant deals. Admittedly though, this is easy enough to ignore, and play off as an ineffective or even deceitful advertisement. But there was something else that was much harder to ignore about these commercials. With that being, the deal attendants themselves. Despite Aviloop claiming to be a professional aviation business, it's difficult not to notice how cheap these women's outfits appear. They're clearly costumes rather than real flight attendant uniforms.
Oh no, I didn't even realize that. I did not even realize that at all. That does look like a Party USA store costume.
And they're clearly over-sexualized too. They're essentially dressed
Yeah.
as fetishized versions of actual flight attendants, which is bizarre as one of the services that Aviloop claims to provide is staffing for flight crews, which would include actual flight attendants. Yet, for whatever reason, they chose to dress these girls in seductive costumes. If they were trying to make these advertisements look professional, they were failing miserably. And it wasn't only the outfits that had a strange sexual undertone.
Dude, that lady is way too thin. I mean, you look like a stick. I mean, come on. I'm just hoping you're healthy.
To them. It was also the script that the girls were reading.
Whether you want to learn to fly, charter an airplane, or just see more girls like me,
Or to see more girls like me.
Oh.
Aviloop can help.
Aviloop can help.
So what are you waiting for, Captain?
And remember Top Gun? Clearly, your attractiveness increases with every flight under your belt.
Bizarrely, the videos themselves were filled with sexual innuendos.
Oh my god, there's gonna be so much editing of me coughing.
Anyone who claims that humans were not meant to fly never experienced the thrill of their own successful landing. Get ready to fly big boy airplanes.
They were clearly trying to be more than a little flirty, which goes hand in hand with the outfits that they were donning. Now, some might argue that this was a sign of the times. In 2011, edgy and over-sexualized marketing was still very much in the norm, with several major companies building their entire brands around
Dude,
it.
yeah, GoDaddy was crazy, dude. And they had a Super Bowl ad that was like just straight making out. I think it was like 2 years ago.
Approach. But the only problem here is that the videos made it unclear what Aviloop was even supposed to be offering. Despite saying a lot, the lack of details made it entirely ineffective. Like the business itself was an afterthought, with the focus instead being on these women. In fact, even in the channel's description, they simply wrote, "Meet Aviloop deal attendants." This is the official page for a brand new company trying to promote its services, and that's all they had to say. That's how they marketed their entire company. Making some wonder what was actually the role of these deal attendants, and what was actually the purpose of Aviloop. The first and most likely theory at this point is that Aviloop was an overambitious company that used over-sexualized marketing to build intrigue around its brand at a time.
The crazy thing is, I think that would actually still work too, which is like weird because there's like weirdos out there that are like, let me get like a flight attendant, like specifically, you know? So what's the website? What's on the website?
When others were doing the same thing to great success. Maybe they weren't even off the ground yet and overpromising on services that they hoped to one day be able to provide. But for the time being, we're just throwing out there to get more people to visit their website. But with such a focus on these deal attendants, and just how strange these videos come across, some were left with a different theory. That rather than Aviloop using sex to sell their service, maybe sex was their service.
That's what I'm saying.
The theory goes that Aviloop was a front for pornography or even prostitution, poorly hidden under the guise of this fake aeronautics company. This would explain the prominence of these deal attendants, as they themselves may have been the actresses or prostitutes. And it also explains the lack of information about the company itself, as the reason their deals and services don't seem to make any sense was because they weren't actually offering them. It was all just a cover-up. And honestly, just going off the eye test, this is how the page comes across. But there are other details that make this theory a lot more compelling. For starters, in numerous videos they mention an unusual feature of their website, that users can vote for their favorite deal attendant and win prizes as a result.
You can even vote for your favorite deal attendant and win special prizes.
With one of these special prizes later being revealed to be a one-on-one video call with one of these deal attendants.
Okay, so yeah, it's just a shitty ad for a porn site, right?
This shows that the deal attendants weren't just for marketing, they were a core part of the services offered to Aviloop users, making one wonder what was actually happening on those video calls, and was it perhaps something sexual? And it goes even deeper than that, as there's a reason why I mentioned prostitution specifically in this theory, with that reason being a line mentioned in one of these videos.
To purchase this deal, you must hold at least a private pilot license and a current medical certificate. Don't miss out and click on that big blue button. You know you want to.
The deal attendant mentions
What?
that all customers needed to provide an up-to-date medical certificate. Now, this isn't something that's necessarily unheard of in the aviation world, but it certainly isn't the norm, at least from what I could tell. But in the context of this theory, It makes perfect sense. If they truly were operating some sort of prostitution ring, then their customers having an up-to-date medical certificate would be imperative to preventing the spread of STDs.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say it's either for that or they're really selling this role play thing, and they're like, no, you got to be like a legit ass pilot for us to. I mean, we got to sell it to the ladies too. You know what I mean?
It's strange enough to make this theory feel legitimately possible, but even if it wasn't true, it seems obvious that there was something off with this channel, and we haven't even discussed the strangest part of it all.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
in a
it's
few
not.
videos, you can hear unusual sounds in the background.
And you want to add multi-engine to your Pretty Green license, this is your opportunity to do it at 50% off.
A dog?
Add multi-engine to your Pretty Green license, this is your opportunity to your Pretty Green license. This is.
In the background, you can hear what appears to be someone moaning in a blatantly sexual manner.
Oh.
This.
Which was
Oh, I thought it was a dog.
loud enough for even the deal attendant to take notice. It's very unusual, and certainly not a sound that could just accidentally happen on a typical film set.
Which makes it all the stranger that another inexplicable noise was heard in the background of a different video, and this one left viewers far more distressed.
You want to learn to fly, charter an airplane, or to see more girls like me? Aviloop can help. Or to see more girls like me? Aviloop can help. Or to see more girls like me? Aviloop can help.
Some believe that this is yet another sexual moan, while others swear they can hear a specific word. The word, help.
I was gonna say I kind of initially heard like something like that, but I didn't want to like specifically say that word.
It's incredibly concerning, especially if this prostitution theory is true. I mean, there's just so many implications to it.
Given the link between prostitution and human trafficking.
Oh,
But again,
no.
this could all
So this is like,
be part of the marketing. Maybe this was all just a ploy to get people to visit their website, roping you in with these sexualized, creepy, and even concerning videos that almost demand that you dig deeper. Well, if this is the case, then surely visiting their website would help put this mystery to bed. At the time these videos were uploaded back in 2011, those visiting the Aviloop website would be met with a rather lackluster experience. The homepage was dull and uninviting, and seemed about as vague as the videos promoting it. However, they did have an About section that attempted to describe the service more in depth. There, they mentioned that the primary goal of Aviloop was safety, as they believed that making training and other aeronautic services more accessible could in turn help prevent accidents, which strangely was never even hinted at in their videos, and is never mentioned again on any other portion of the website. But it was in this About tab that they listed even more services that they claimed to provide. Services like navigation equipment, headsets, and pilot vacations, among many other things. Basically anything even remotely related to flying, they sold it. Or at least claimed to, and they insisted that they did so cheaper than anywhere else by using collective bargaining, a process that they would go into greater detail about. Basically, Aviloop acts as a third party, partnering with aviation businesses to promote unique deals on their site. Each of these deals has a quota that must be hit for it to actually go through.
Wait, so it's real? It's a real site where they are trying to shell off deals that other airlines can't?
So if enough people buy the deal, the quota is reached, and everyone gets a voucher to do or receive whatever they paid for. But if the deal doesn't reach its quota, then everyone is refunded and the deal is voided without any cost to the users or the business. Aviloop was the middleman, which could explain how they managed to offer such impressive deals and such diverse services. Though again, this is just what they were saying, begging the question, was anything actually being sold on Aviloop.com? Well, there actually was. The deals were sorted by general locations, and most consisted of flying lessons, museum trips, or even temporary tattoos. However, there was something unusual about these.
Temporary tattoos? Temporary pilot tattoos. What? Valid for the 2-pair package. Includes 1 yellow, 1 gray pair. Oh, what is that? Is that a real thing?
These listings. Bizarrely, almost every deal on the site was marked as completed. each having ended in 1969, which obviously was impossible. There were only a select few deals throughout the entire website's history that were ever even active, and even then, there didn't seem to be a way to actually purchase them. This end date of 1969 was either some sort of glitch, or it was intentionally set that way, as the year just so happens to be yet another sexual innuendo. So what should prove the company's legitimacy actually only makes this company seem more suspicious. It was like they were trying to make it appear as if they were selling all these different things, yet in reality they were hardly offering anything, and what they were offering wasn't even available for purchase. This set me on a hunt trying to find any sort of testimonials or reviews from any Aviloop customers, but strangely, I couldn't find a single one. In fact, the only proof that I could find that anyone actually used the service was an Aviloop patch that I found floating around on eBay. And the only reason that this is at all significant is that these badges were included in most of the offers on the website. But this isn't substantial in any way, shape, or form, and it's clear that the seller wasn't actually a customer and was instead a patch collector that must have somehow obtained it, making me question if anyone actually ever bought something from this
That's crazy. What are the odds of that?
website, and if this whole marketplace was really just a ploy. Which takes us back to that lingering theory.
Dude, I wouldn't even think to look into something like this. I feel like I'd be like, oh, that was a weird video, and then just kind of like move on. I wonder what made him like kind of set on it. Like, how did he already know that? Wow.
Just like the Aviloop channel, the website featured these deal attendants, and just like the channel, they seemed to be the primary focus. Their involvement was plastered all over the website, with the whole business model appearing to hinge on their involvement, which the site was not afraid to outwardly admit. What is the first thing you look for on our deal pages? We understand. Go ahead, check out our deal attendants. They sure are stunning. Vote for your favorite deal attendant for a chance to win a one-on-one VIP video chat with one of the girls. You will find our models are not only beautiful, but also fun and interesting to talk to. Just have fun. Feel free to bask in the glory of your win, and be the envy of your friends. After all, not everyone gets to brag about video chatting with supermodels. The process of voting for the best deal attendant...
Dude, what? Why is it so buried into the website, too? Like, they clearly don't want people to see that, unless they tell them about it in another way.
Was something that they heavily pushed, going as far as to reward one voter each week with the aforementioned private video call. And when discussing these calls, they not so subtly hinted that they weren't just ordinary video chats, writing, "You will be talking to real successful fashion models with exciting backgrounds. Many are big aviation fans, so you will have a lot to talk about.
Wow.
You never know. Vote, win, chat. You never know."
The allusion to sex was way more prevalent on the site than even on the channel,
with this line seeming to hint that winning these video calls could entail some sort of sexual encounter with the deal attendant, which only seems to bolster this theory even more. But unlike the channel, here we're at least given a bit more context as to why these women or deal attendants are being used, and according to the site, it wasn't as sinister as it seems. Under the business section, which is used as an FAQ for companies wanting to promote their deals on Aviloop, they wrote, "What is the deal with deal attendants? As a business, you have the option to include a professional video of one of our stunning models on your deal page for a flat fee. She will deliver a 30 to 60 second message describing your promotion. Our deal attendants are real professional models who work for high-end clients. Why should I include a deal attendant? Although our promotions get a lot of exposure, adding a deal attendant has the potential of making it viral on social media sites. Promotions that include a video tend to be extra successful." There's a lot to unpack here. For starters, this explains how Aviloop makes their money. They're basically charging companies to run ads using these deal attendants, and the videos on their channel are examples of what these ads would look like. Though calling them professional is extremely generous, and I can't imagine.
I was gonna say I was thinking the traffic thing kind of made sense because of just the women. Well, that one specifically. The other ones actually look fine, but she looked like she wasn't wanting to be there.
Any companies actually wanting to use the service. And given that these are the only videos that they shared, I don't think many, if any, actually did. But in this explanation, Aviloop is all but admitting to using these deal attendants to rope people into visiting their website, over-sexualizing them to lure in perverted internet users, giving them false hope that they'd be able to interact with these women and maybe even sleep with them. And in exchange, these users keep coming back to the site under this false hope, which maybe could lead to them purchasing something. It's an insane business model, and one that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's insane in that it makes no fucking sense. Like, you're not gonna have a business.
I mean, they're claiming that this is a service for professionals and real aviation fans, for the primary reason of making our skies safer, yet they aren't actually offering anything but the prospect of talking to women. These women are the main and really only draw of the service, and even the deals that they did list seem to contradict the primary goal of this company. I mean, how would a trip to the museum help with aviation safety? And how would a temporary tattoo help with that either?
I was gonna say, that doesn't make no sense.
And on the topic of these tattoos, they're also extremely sexual in nature. They were meant to mimic pilot stripes and be put on your shirtless shoulder.
What the fuck? That's what I was saying. It's got to be like to really sell the role play thing. Dude, I almost nailed it with that. Iron my stripes. Apply before flight. You serve to have your something. I can't read that. Wow, I literally can't read that. Tattooed. Whatever.
With a package reading, "When a uniform just won't do," and the description adding all sorts of innuendos.
And this is a good time to point out just how strange the writing is across the entire website. As here they write, "What better way to thank a pilot than by saying, 'Captain, you deserve to have your epaulets tattooed. We wish
Epaulets. Okay, I had no idea what that was.
someone had these on board of the Miracle on the Hudson flight. Just imagine the look on the pilot's face if someone handed these to him. So why not keep a pair in your wallet and thank the Sully in your life for the next flight? Every safe landing deserves recognition, and this gift is sure to make their day." Everything is written like this. It's not only sexual, it's also nonsensical. And
Dude, I bet this is just those attendants that made a site to lure in pilots. That's what I'm thinking, because this is like a backwards, non-crime, not really trafficking. I mean, it sounds terrible. I'm going to abandon all of that. Never mind.
and feels like it was written by AI at a time when AI wasn't even a thing.
Everything about Aviloop feels wrong. The lack of any tangible goods and services, the overly convoluted business structure, and the lack of any public customers just makes this company appear so fake. But that doesn't inherently mean that they were actually involved in pornography or prostitution. I mean, despite all these innuendos, there is no direct mention of the sale of sex anywhere on the website from what I could see. And unfortunately, much of the website is lost to time, as in 2016 the site would go down, replaced by another random URL, making it impossible to know what this platform was actually like for those who signed up for it. What were they actually being offered? What were they discussing amongst themselves? And what happened on these video calls? It's all unknown, as what I've shown is pretty much all I was able to salvage from the Wayback Machine. However, Aviloop didn't stay down forever. In 2019, Aviloop.com re-emerged. Only this time, it looked very different. Gone were the deals, the business model, and most importantly, the deal attendants, and in its place was what looked to be a generic template website. They still claimed to offer some of their services, but they were now left even more vague, and there was no attempt to even make it look like you could purchase anything. Even the innuendos were gone. It was quite literally as bare bones as it gets, and comes across like a sham website, void of any notable information, with one exception. There was a single new addition to the site, as at the very bottom you could find a short bio, not of a deal attendant, but of a legitimate pilot named Nadia Marenko, the creator of Aviloop. This revelation is huge, as Nadia Marenko was a well-known and extremely successful pilot, which makes Aviloop all the more confusing, as you would think that her involvement in the company would help legitimize it, and make it seem more likely that Aviloop was a real company after all. But instead, it actually did the exact opposite, as her involvement plunges this mystery into a whole new depth.
I don't think she really looks like one of the models, though, so I don't think she was like in any of the videos, but that's so weird.
A depth far darker than we've yet to discuss. Born in Czechoslovakia in 1986, Nadia dedicated her younger years to modeling, landing multiple high-profile roles in her country. And by the age of just 15, these roles led to her being moved to the United States to help continue this budding career. But by 20, her interest had shifted to a different kind of runway. She became obsessed with flying and had a natural talent for it too, quickly rising through the ranks and gaining certifications faster than most others could at that age. By 25, she was considered extremely accomplished for someone so young, and her resume would soon reach a wider audience when she began leveraging social media. She posted videos under the alias Gulfstream Girl, and eventually Global Girl, where she marketed herself as a supermodel turned pilot, which worked to the tune of millions of views. Nadia Marenko was a star in the aviation world and on social media too, and it was during the height of this success that she started Aviloop. It clearly wasn't meant to be some big secret either. She actively promoted it on numerous occasions, doing interviews on podcasts and even taking it to a trade show.
Oh, wow. Oh, and then she's in one of the uniforms. Oh, shit. Look at that. Okay.
This was a front for...
Dude, I was wondering, it's crazy that he got a name out of it, you know? Oh, never mind. People yelling. Man, this really feels like I'm investigating it, you know, alongside with him. He makes it so fun. Like, does such a good job with it. Holy fuck.
For something nefarious, she was doing a bad job of keeping it discreet, which seems to back up our first theory. And it would be very easy to settle on that theory and just call it a day, had being a model and a pilot been all that Nadia was known for.
Uh-oh.
You see, there was something that she was hiding from her audience, a secret in the form of a bond with one man whom she was working closely with at the time that Aviloop was launched. A man by the name
Oh my god.
of Jeffrey Epstein.
Jeffrey Epstein has been arrested on new sex trafficking charges.
Oh my god, dude. He was trying to get women then. Like, wow. The flight attendants. He's trying to get a bunch of women flight attendants over there. What?
Charges of soliciting and procuring minors for prostitution.
He was involved in trafficking young women and children over to Little St. James.
In case you're somehow unaware, Jeffrey Epstein is the most prolific pedophile and human trafficker maybe of all time. He carried out a large-scale human trafficking operation, bringing children to his private island that he and other elites exploited in horrific ways. It's one of the biggest news stories of my lifetime, and over the past...
Is this real video? What is this?
...years, there's been so much talk surrounding the acquaintances of Epstein. Who is connected with him, and how close were they? But of all these people in Epstein's circle, few, if any, were closer to him than Nadia Marenko.
Wow.
It's a difficult subject to discuss, but Nadia is considered one of Epstein's victims. He found her through her modeling job when she was just a teenager.
Wow.
And she didn't just come to the United States for work.
At 15, she was taken to the U.S. What?
Epstein himself brought her, after allegedly purchasing her from her father.
What followed was Nadia becoming his self-described sex slave.
What the fuck, bro?
It's a horrible and unimaginable fate. But while Nadia appeared to have been a victim of Epstein, that wasn't all she was, as after becoming an adult, she also became Epstein's accomplice. When Epstein was first investigated by the FBI back in the 2000s, many of his victims came forward and claimed that Nadia was not only present for their abuse, but she was a willing participant, there to satisfy Epstein's criminal sexual desires by, on occasion, directly participating in sexual abuse and prostitution of the minor girls. Now, Epstein was eventually given a sweetheart deal for these crimes in 2008, which led to him serving just 13 months in prison. And as part of that deal, Nadia was given complete immunity, meaning she never faced any sort of repercussions for her use of children. But despite being a free woman by the time that Epstein was thrown in jail, she stood by his side, living in his New York City home, waiting for his release. And while he was behind bars, Nadia would visit him roughly 70 times. These two were deeply connected, even well after she was his slave, with Nadia even making a scrapbook for Epstein, which is just so terrifying that I had to at least mention it in this video.
Ugh.
It would be several years later in 2012, a time when Nadia had long since left Epstein's home and his control,
that Nadia would rejoin his operation, this time with a brand new role. She became one of Epstein's pilots, taking victims and perpetrators alike to and from the island.
Wow.
On the plane they dubbed the Lolita
So that's why she got into aviation.
Express.
What happened on the Lolita Express?
Everything that happened on the Lolita Express and his other planes was the same thing that happened in his bedrooms and the massage rooms. The abuse did not stop because we're in the air. Jeffrey couldn't take a 2-hour flight without having to ejaculate. Like, that's how sick this man was.
Wow, that's quite a statement. Jeez, this whole video, dude, holy fuck, man. He really hit it with this one.
Nadia Marinko
was directly trafficking children for Epstein, and she was doing this in 2012, mere months after she started Aviloop. Which brings us to our third and most upsetting theory, that Aviloop wasn't a cover for prostitution, but rather a front for child trafficking and pedophilia. Nadia's involvement alone and the timing of the company's launch, mixed with all the innuendos, the red flags, it all starts to make sense. And it's made even more disturbing when you look at the videos they posted on YouTube, as one thing I failed to mention so far is just how young these deal attendants look. There's obviously no way to conclusively determine their age from the footage, but some believe that they look to be teenagers and maybe even underaged, which would make sense for this theory, as the deal attendants wouldn't be prostitutes, but rather child victims. It's a theory that has to be considered. I mean, as crazy as it seems, Aviloop was quite literally founded and run by a child trafficker who was actively trafficking children when the company started.
And Nadia wasn't the only sketchy character involved in the site behind the scenes.
Epstein himself was as well. The two frequently emailed each other, and in multiple instances, Aviloop was discussed, with Epstein frequently giving her advice. In one email, he wrote to her, "Website is cool, mix of porn, Groupon, and flying. The marketing campaign could be, buy with us, we give a flying fuck." His mentioning of porn here is just more confirmation that Aviloop wasn't just an aviation company, but this also shows that Epstein was helping with the company, and he wasn't just doing this through friendly advice. Throughout his emails,
gee, please wire Nadia 50K. What?
You can also find dozens of receipts from transactions with Aviloop, totaling hundreds.
RPG, unauthorized use. Oh wow, he was even on that shit, bro. Like he knew people were watching his emails.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars of payments sent to
Aviloop, 10 G's, 100,000, 125,000 total. Wow.
Directly to the company. Jeffrey Epstein was an investor in Aviloop, and
Yeah,
a big
his
one
lip.
too. And he seemed to believe in the service so much that he even appeared to use it himself, as emails show him inquiring about booking flights through the company. Nadia at one point even offered to help Epstein through Aviloop,
writing, "Is there anything I can do for you? I can find a deal through Aviloop on anything you want. Airplanes, helicopters."
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, she probably knows how to get everything as a pilot. So she can just say that she knows how to get everything. And then he can, ask her to get whatever.
Cheapest charters, discounted fuel, or a new model/assistant. She's literally offering Jeffrey Epstein a model through Aviloop, which more than hints at this theory being possible. I mean, she spells it out.
And if they were in fact trafficking children through this service, this could give us a blueprint to how they were able to get their victims. Maybe they were finding models and having them fly out under the assumption that modeling is all they would be doing. Maybe these videos were even their tryouts for their roles.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. Like, you're just getting them using those videos to get more of them.
Which they did without even realizing what was to come. I mean, these women were referred to as models on the Aviloop website. And remember, modeling is exactly how Epstein found Nadia. And it's also how he found so many other victims, as he was known to use the modeling industry as a means of recruiting young and underage women, offering them high-paying jobs and potentially career-making opportunities,
in order to lure them in.
So maybe this was all part of the operation, or maybe Nadia was simply taking a page from his book and using the same style of entrapment that he used on her. It's so disturbing to even consider. And there's one more email that I believe is the most disturbing of all, that could allude to their alleged trafficking.
an email with the subject line, Old Terry Coconuts. I ordered sweet young coconuts from Thailand for you, and they just arrived. Very yummy. I was going to ship them to you in Paris, but I hear you are coming back, so I will send them to 71st with Sarah, just so you don't have to drink juices from Old Terry things.
What?
Epstein was notorious for using code words in his messages, and it's not hard to see what Nadia may have meant by sweet young coconuts. So was it a joke or was it a coded message? It's hard to say, but this email was sent on November 13th, 2011, just 2 months after the launch of Aviloop.
Welcome to Aviloop, your collective find website for anything aviation.
So what was Aviloop? Well, to this day, we still don't have a true answer, but everyone has their theories, and most of them are not good. Many legitimately believe that Aviloop was a front for child trafficking, and I can see why. The connections and the strange material on the website and the channel make this impossible to write off as just some crazy conspiracy theory. And if this theory were to be believed, it makes the Aviloop YouTube channel that much more disturbing, as these videos would be advertisements for a human trafficking service that potentially included the victims as the stars. It's also possible that this was a hub for prostitution, and while sex work doesn't always mean human trafficking, just given the players involved, that would definitely still be a concern. There's also still the possibility that Aviloop was secretly a porn website, like Epstein seemed to suggest.
Yeah, their conversation laid out exactly how the website looks and the low effort of it, of him just saying like, yeah, cool, that's what we need, yeah. And then when, like, he just looked at it for 2 seconds and read through it, was like, oh, sweet, good website, throw it up.
In his email, with this content perhaps occurring on those one-on-one video calls. And there was one email that I found that was sent from Epstein's assistant, Story Cowles, that makes this feel even more believable, as Epstein asks him what he was up to which Story responds, just playing online at Aviloop, pouring rain, love it, love it. The way these people communicate is just so weird and hard to decipher, but playing online at Aviloop certainly seems to suggest that this wasn't just a typical daily deals website. And if porn really was the draw, I think given the secrecy of it and the people connected, I would still be very concerned about where they were getting these actresses, and if they were even of age. Nadia's legal team has pushed back on these theories, claiming she was merely Epstein's victim and nothing more, and someone who allegedly worked at Aviloop claimed that the ad campaign was merely meant to be provocative. And that's all. This just feels so hard to believe.
Bro, those are obvious, like, legal defenses, yeah. But, I mean, look at it, man. The context of everything, like, you can tell something weird's going on here. Just looking at that website, like, they ain't even got nothing available. Ended in 1969.
And regardless of which, if any of these theories are true, it seems so obvious to me that Aviloop was never meant to just be a normal company. I even question if perhaps Nadia had created Aviloop as a fake website, which Epstein could then funnel money into in order to make it look like Nadia was earning legitimate income.
Talked about evidence of money over living and money in Slovakia.
Something that she needed to prove in order to get her US visa, which her emails to Epstein show she was clearly struggling with.
I talked to my lawyer and I need to really get the application ready ASAP. 100K should be okay to satisfy the requirement for the E2 enterprise. Generate income substantially above what would be considered a living. Other sources of income, which could have been wired to a bank in Slovakia. Maybe that was the 100K that they sent, so it was just to get this up and running.
And she seemed to allude to this at least being part of her reasoning for creating Aviloop in the first place, and part of the reason why she was asking Epstein for money. And ultimately, the only way she ended up getting that visa was through a deal that she made with the FBI that involved her informing them on Epstein's crimes. Her work directly helped lead to his 2019 arrest, and his ultimate death inside his jail cell that same year. And it was around the same time that Aviloop went back online with its fresh, scrubbed look, void of anything even close to being sexual. And since then, it's never been updated again. And there's hardly been any updates from Nadia herself either. She made a brief appearance in a 2019 YouTube video where she pulled a prank on a flying instructor, acting as an inexperienced student only to surprise the instructor with how skilled she was, with Nadia going as far as to dress as a child. But since then, her trail goes pretty much cold, and once the Epstein files started releasing around 2024, she disappeared from the public eye. Bizarrely, from that point on, the only trace of her seems to have come from images and videos from a monastery, which she seems to have joined.
Wow.
Nadia Mariko's work with the FBI and the immunity that she was given all those years ago makes it feel unlikely that she'll ever be prosecuted, or even investigated for whatever this whole operation was. The reality, though, is that we don't know the full truth about Aviloop, and it's involved in one of the most twisted and deep rabbit holes in human history. A rabbit hole filled with so many layers and cover-ups and corruption that I just hope that somewhere within all of it, we can eventually find an answer to the question, what was Aviloop? But until then, it will remain one of the darkest mysteries, not only on YouTube, but across the entire internet.
Wow.
Hey guys, I actually have a super last minute update here. I'd completely finished this video, but there was something that was still bothering me. The question of who were these deal attendants? I initially tried looking for information that could give us an ID, but everything was just wild speculation. But I decided to give it one last look, and I'm glad that I did because I actually think I identified 2 of them. I found an article that reported one of them as being a woman named Shannon Cusack, which explained that Shannon was actually a friend and maybe even roommate of Nadia at the time that she was starting up Aviloop, and at the time of filming this ad, she was actually in her mid-20s. It seems like she might have just been helping Nadia out at the time with this. She even listed the job on her LinkedIn supposedly, though it's now since been removed. The other deal attendant that I might have found was Ashley, and it was actually thanks to a YouTube comment. And what's interesting about her was that she was a model, but she was also in her mid-20s around the time of filming this. And based on her blog, she continued to have a normal modeling career and seemingly normal life after her time working with Aviloop, before she sadly passed away from cancer. And from what I've seen, there isn't much to hint that she was ever a victim of anything Epstein related. This is huge because a lot of people were falsely claiming that this girl was Ashley Martinez, a missing girl whose family is still searching for her to this day. But this doesn't appear to be the case. The only deal attendant that I wasn't able to ID was Claire, who does happen to look the youngest. But knowing now that these other women were of age, I feel more inclined to believe that maybe the women shown on the channel weren't actually victims of the operation, or at the very least they weren't children. But obviously I can't say this for certain, and that's not to say that that wasn't happening behind the scenes, of course.
Yeah, well, that's good at least, but no, that's a crazy video, dude. Wow. Fantastic. I wouldn't have a complaint about a Nick Crowley video, so I normally complain about everything. Complained about the last 2 videos, the 2 before that. Yeah, pretty much, I complain about everything, but Nick Crowley videos, perfect. I'm not even subbed. He just doesn't post much anymore, but it's fantastic. So yeah, next video.